We are red. Red is on.
Good evening, it's 4:50, it's Thursday, August 16th, 2018, Selectmen's meeting. Well, we stand and say that for Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We've got some minutes of 8-9. Review.
There's one enemy over there. Isn't it Center Street? Center. Thank you.
Divided diagram. Not divided, without a diagram.
Oh, that
When
right?
he did that night, we sent him all the diagram came.
Like someone providing a diagram, or is he providing a diagram? We didn't have to. We didn't have to.
And never had to walk.
Back there. I had later.
Did-
The next day.
the need to restrike the T-Top parking lot from municipal lot G. First, confirm the parking lot will be taken care of before Brock leaves. Selectmen stand in the need to make this a priority. I believe the discussion was that we had said, there was quite a discussion on this, and that it was a occurrence of the board that Joyce would talk with Brock if Brock could not get the work done this past week, that we would hire out to get the work done. I don't see that in the minutes.
It was, as I recall it, it would be done before this week, no matter what it took.
And I don't see that in the minutes. It doesn't read that way.
And he was also.
And it's still not done.
It's gonna be done Monday or Tuesday. And then I'll send out.
So,
Correct, Joyce?
so anyway, we're still in the minutes, and one of the other things I said in there was the conditions of downtown. Happy with that.
I think it's important to put those things in there when it's being said, because it's, we get calls from the public, and even though we say that on our TV, a lot of the, on the camera, a lot of people don't really look on the computer, and to hear that, we get phone calls and say, what are we doing about downtown? It looks like heck, because it's all overgrown, and, oh yeah, you know, did you look at the camera? John Scanlon brought that up, and we've got a plan going forward for that, but yet it's not on, in our minutes, and we don't have anything to fall back on. And I believe a couple of weeks before that, Catherine brought it up.
Yes, we do.
So, let's skip over the minutes.
On page 3, one small thing in between the two dots, sentence. There is capitalized in the final page. Let's see if we read what it says. And, Selectman Dawson will contact the HVAC people to obtain an estimate.
It's okay.
Well, it's just more specific.
We've been off again.
That's my show.
And now, I saw you over my chair. You said it was up. No. Thank you.
On page 2 of 3, just minor, under town administrative reports, the second paragraph, there was a discussion of leaving, and then there's 2 dots. Works, budget in the minus. Make a motion, please. Accept the minutes as correct.
Second. Give your motion to accept the minutes as corrected. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
should all have an agenda in your packet. Let's see what else I have here. Start a fresh page here. In your to-be-signed file is the CDBG claim number 10. You have the to-be-signed. I held it back, excuse me, a week until I got a satisfactory explanation as to why they had to adjust some of the numbers between RD funding and CDBG funding, and I'm satisfied with the response, so this is okay to process. There will be one more invoice, at least one more invoice, because we still haven't paid Donna Lane, the town's CDBG consultant, for her services.
So I have a question.
Mhm.
A while ago, there was an email that they thought that disconnecting the
Storm drains, Right. dry wells, French drains, gray water.
Yes. And that was part of their job description, that was this. That's part of connecting the home to the sewer. They're disconnecting what was there, connecting it to sewer. They're saying that there was a part of their job description, that they're going, that the co-op is gonna have to pay for those disconnects and connections themselves, which means they're gonna continue, but they're not allowed, because I did call DES.
Mhm.
That sort of
Mhm.
alarm that they're allowing this gray water to just flow. Some of them I don't think go into catch basins. Flow in the drain.
What are you defining as gray water?
Wash water from the washing machine. And DES subsurface systems under.
Right, so that should be in the system.
They're actually paying payment.
We're not necessarily paying for that. We're not paying for that. Our CDBG portion isn't paying for that.
Well, wait, so CDBG paid to disconnect but not to connect.
Well, both pots of money paid.
Both pots of money paid to disconnect but no one paid to connect. You gotta be telling me quite the joke. You either you don't pay to disconnect and connect, or you pay to disconnect and connect. You don't leave them hanging.
Well, I just recall that there was an issue with some of the properties had gray water and that they were taking care of it.
Right.
How many properties have gray
The one
water?
that
I don't know.
is that they felt that the engineers were contracted out, that was in their contract. It sounded like basically they don't look at, all of a sudden they go, oh, some of these trailers, they can run the drainage system down.
So- So
It's
besides,
listed. And now
I
they're saying
believe
it
so.
wasn't part of their contract, so therefore they don't have to do it. Yet the
Well, no, it's being done, but they're just not paying for it. It's
They're
coming
not
from other
doing
pots of
the
money.
job. I'm kind of with Peter, that's needed to do the job. This CDBG grant that we agreed to was to connect that trailer park to the municipal sewer.
Mhm.
And in my opinion, that hasn't been completed, that's just me.
That, what we just signed, just, it was in the packet to be signed, does that finalize it?
No.
So we don't have anything holding them to finishing that project? What do we
There must
have?
be
Well, there are other, no, there is retainage, yes.
Okay,
There is
so,
retainage.
That we're retaining or another agency?
Probably.
No, from the grant is retaining.
Okay, so this is the final payment for our part of paying for this project?
No, it's not the
Except for
final
Donna
payment.
Lane's money? So this is the actual.
No, there will be another one that will say final payment
For construction money?
for construction money and engineering. There's 2 pots of money.
so we still have some type
Of, the project isn't done, the project is being paid through 4 different pots of money. So what your concern is that you feel that the CDBG money should be paying for part of the disconnecting the gray water system.
I think
Because that's the project that was described to us, the reason we agreed to, you know,
To participate.
agree and participate in this grant was to connect that myself to municipal sewer, in my opinion, that has been completed. So I don't want to make final payment until somebody explains to me why they don't take it off the chin, they missed it.
Why isn't the engineers going to bed? Or did they screw up and maybe they're the ones holding it up?
That I don't know.
So technically, they feel that all they have to do is connect the toilets up to the sewer, and then all other water, sinks, showers, washing machines, just,
So can we get a definitive answer on when they're going to collect, when they're gonna hook up the gray water? And then perhaps maybe we hold the monies, the final monies until we know definitively who, what, when, and where they're gonna hook up that gray water, and how many units it involves. I think that would be the questions to ask.
All right, so why was it missed as a project cost?
Yeah.
What is the status of the gray water being disconnected?
How many units are?
And how many units involved? And how is it being paid for?
When will it be corrected?
And when is the final CDBG payment?
I don't see any retainers.
the original contract agreement for public points was before, it say connect up, just,
I don't know, I'd have to go and look.
you know, if it says connect trailers, all wastewater from the trailers, gray water would be included. If it says when you connect the toilets,
I can show you on the spreadsheets, on the Hutter spreadsheet where the retainage is.
toilet. So I think this is excluded out of the contract. Is
Okay. What was the next thing on my, okay. Well, housing standards ordinance appeal that we had, Catherine, you said that's all been resolved with the property owner?
Well, the PO was one who's not there for data. I was just. We inspected that property again yesterday. And Deputy Chief Secretary Gray, a very good conversation with the property owner that day. And discussed, he gave us his experience as a landlord, and tonight those came to the resolution thanking, actually it came from the landlord property owner, and we might be able to add, do something better. It was very good interaction. Very good.
No, but sent a draft letter to New Franklin Apartments. Did they all get a copy in their packet?
You already sent this letter?
No, it's a draft letter.
This is
I emailed it to the board and I said, here's the draft. Here's the original letter. Okay. Are you all right with it?
I'm good. It's great.
One of the things I would like to present to the board at a future meeting is, and this came from an employee that was concerned that the board wasn't fully aware of what the employer responsibilities are to uniformed service employees that are in our uniformed service. And so he showed me the website and tips for employers and top 10 reasons to hire members of the Guard and Reserve. So I haven't had an opportunity to read through this, but I'll go through and put a packet together and give it to the board, just as a reminder
Is there a specific concern?
of something was said at a meeting.
Selectmen's meeting.
Yes, so we just need to make sure that we're aware. So I'll read this and then have a little presentation at a future meeting. Sale of town property, no report, but we have had some contact, but we have nothing to report yet.
No, isn't there with 3 buttons? Technically, they're 1, 3 for this.
This is a different one, yeah. That's the Sea Lake, yeah. That's the tax deeded property.
Oh, this one is the, this is the other one.
Right.
The same.
Sure, the right time or update on Main Street program?
Next week.
Oh, it's next week?
Yeah.
Okay, so tonight's just meet the candidates.
Just two cents.
I thought I was killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
We tried to figure this out. We were
No worries, I had it in my calendar, so I just.
next week.
There's one more thing. Did you know that next year is the 150th anniversary of Tilton?
I did not.
And we don't have any members of the town celebration. Everybody loves the crash. So, I don't know if there's anything that you want all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to be on that committee.
Okay.
That's a big deal.
Everybody should do something.
Yeah.
Or
No, that's,
That's how I get
I
things
no,
done.
I think that's great. I would love to be a part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Make that.
Good,
So,
good. All right, I'll let you get back to work. I'll see you later on.
Dennis, go ahead.
Thank you.
Sale of town property, that's the, next to 61 Business Park Drive. Police Building Study Committee, no report, but we're gonna get active and we'll have a meeting. I just have to get in touch with the chairman, and we'll be scheduling a meeting the first week of September, after Labor Day. The sale of tax deeded property, you had raised some questions, and I contacted Municipal Association, and I copied the board on their response. Now, the issue of abutters, if you have any property in between two pieces of property that is, we'll take High Street, for example. We would have to look and see if High Street was deeded to the town. And if it was deeded to the town, that's the town's property. So if you have someone across the street from a parcel, they would not be able to merge it because there's another piece of property in the way.
That's correct. However, as an abutter, they could purchase it so that they could have a nice view across the street and create a garden. Many times, when I look at Roger Rapp, he has his farm and his house on the side of the street. So that would be reasonably interesting party that may have,
Well, I have a property across the street with the south parcel. So if the town in fact owned the High Street, that would be in the butter.
The town would be in a butter?
No, yeah, so that, I mean, there would be a property in
Yep.
between, so
Mhm.
they would be on the side.
Yep,
So therefore they would be abutting because their property is in between.
that is correct.
Now, when you're in planning and zoning abutters, roads don't, you go across the roads, don't you?
Right, it has nothing, right.
Well, that's notification to the planning and zoning.
We're talking about, right.
Yeah, why not offer it to someone across the street? Maybe they want to,
I think, we should follow the procedures that we do for planning and zoning for the changes on the law.
Well, you can, my interpretation of the law is that you can notify the abutters, and anybody could buy it. Not everybody would be able to merge it,
We're requiring it to either be merged or
kept as open space.
Right.
So you're basically putting a covenant on it in the deed.
So
You're
if we
putting,
require it to be merged, not everybody that you send out a notice is gonna meet that requirement. So, like, for instance, Gail across the street is not gonna be able to merge it because there's a road.
but if it
You
was,
can merge the lot and have a right of way between.
No, not a town road.
no,
It's not a right of way.
or a right-of-way that's owned by someone else.
So in the case of, such as, the rabbits, you have a farm, that would be for separate.
Two separate lots, right, and it's taxable. Two separate lots.
Right, and I have a situation the same way, that I've tried to merge them. The ones that I'm abutting, I could merge, but there's a right-of-way that goes, a private right-of-way, but it's owned by the Northfield Development Corporation, which is now owned by Highlands, that I cannot merge my other lot, because there's somebody else owns the land in between.
Now, when they built Lowe's, and Chewy's and all that stuff, I was notified as,
Right, because notification for purposes of a planning and zoning meeting is different from an abutter to try and merge property.
So being affected by it and actually buying to merge a property is very different.
Like you may have abutters saying, no, we want to see housing go in there.
Very fine line, this is kind of a first time, this with us, and I think we probably let the neighbors know the intentions of what's going on, and that to be aware of what's going on.
Well, I think you've got a good point, letting them know what's going on. But when you say that this is the criteria in which we're letting this property go by, it has to be merged, kept as open space, though, this is the criteria. But let people notification,
Not decided.
No, no.
What we want to do with the property, merge it or
but
what.
let everybody know in the area that this is what we're gonna do. And then just, once we decide this is the criteria, and then they say, well, I can come and look, but I can't do anything because I can't meet that criteria. And then
We
there's
don't,
a lot of people that it will either meet the criteria or not meet the criteria.
but you can offer it without merging, right. You can offer it without merging, but it can only be offered to abutters. And it has to be, the town, the reason we're doing that is to put a condition on it that it would have to remain as open space.
The only way we can do it is with criteria.
Yes, I don't want to limit the neighbors that will be around there's ability to purchase it or to do that. We can say we want to keep it as open space or do that, but we want to make sure that every neighbor has the opportunity to purchase it and do as we specify or under the law.
Right, because then we could notify the people on the other side of
If you
High
limit
Street
it to
Extension.
just the next door neighbor that can physically.
No,
touch
there's
it.
3 next door neighbors that physically touch it.
Okay.
Can we offer it with, can we offer the property with, and limited to just open space?
Yes. Yes, it has to remain open. We would put a covenant in the deed saying that per RSA whatever, that this shall remain open space. It is a non-buildable lot.
Technically, I could purchase that lot and donate it to the conservation commission with an easement saying, I want this to remain as an open
Yes.
lot.
Yes.
I don't want just to limit it to the butter.
Right.
Why are we requiring that it remain open space?
Because that's in the statute. You have, there's 3 things you can do with
If
it.
we look at the statute as it says, we don't have right now, as far as I can see, we don't have the ability to follow the statute, because it says such authority to transfer to sell shall continue in effect for 1 year from the date of the town meeting or action by the city or town council, provided however that the authority will be granted for an indefinite period, in which case the warrant article or voting granting such authority shall use the words indefinitely until rescinded or similar language.
The town has the authority to sell to abutters under as justice may require. That,
We don't have a warrant article that extended the authority to us to buy and sell town lands. The only one I could find was in 2000.
no, 1994, the town meeting authorized the town to dispose of tax deeded property,
Did that
either by auction or as justice may require,
So, 1994.
in 1994.
But this language in this final version of this Senate bill, before proceeding under this provision, the governing body shall make an affirmative fact to disclose by method of occupancy of bidders of document. It's in the public interest, not the law. So that's why I'm asking you about the open space. And 1 such authority to transfer or sell shall continue in effect for 1 year from the date of the town meeting of the rest of the city.
Now, what section are you reading, Catherine?
30.
Right, but we've already done section 3.
Such an authority to transfer to site shall continue in effect for 1 year from the date of the town meeting. It grants us that authority, unless the specific warrant article says indefinitely until rescinded or similar language. Now, that warrant article didn't have that language in it, so is this Senate bill telling us in all other communities that we have to do a do-over since we didn't include that language in the original? Well, and truly, it's a question.
Okay, but we have, it says before proceeding under this provision, the governing body shall make an affirmative finding that disposal by a method other than sealed bid or public auction is in the public interest. We have public auction and as justice may require. We don't have by sealed bid. We did sealed bid under as justice may require.
But this bill sets out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, blah, blah, blah. It's like 6 is the last one. The steps that must take place. Number 4, and again, says the authority to transfer shall continue in effect for 1 year from the date of the town meeting that grants us the authority.
Okay, go to, on the second page, 9, section 6. Okay, because we have justice may require. For purpose,
But we have,
the authority to dispose of property as justice may require, which we have, shall include the power of the governing body to A, you can engage a broker, B, sell undeveloped parcels to abutters for consolidation into adjoining lots, and by consolidation, that means merging, for the purpose of affordable housing, preserving open space, or reducing development density, or convey the property to a former owner or to a third party for the benefit of the former owner. So section 6 is just giving, for those communities that have, as justice may require, that it includes the power to do those 3 things.
and we just ignore section 4?
Because we already have the power.
Except for, when did the law, Catherine, your edition, when was that approved by the legislature?
This one?
Yeah.
This is the final version of the bill I'm reading from.
What's the year? Is it post-94?
2018.
Okay, so that supersedes, I would assume, the 94 vote now, because now it's saying,
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Well, no, we'll see, no.
is it correct? You're gonna grandfather a vote when a law change like that? I don't know.
No, because we already have, it says the governing body may by a specific article in the town warrant by ordinance be authorized to dispose of liens or tax deeded properties. We already have that in a manner other than as provided in this section as justice may require.
That would only pertain if that actual thing had occurred, giving us the authority within the last year. 20 years elapsed since we did it. Is that right?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm asking a question. I really don't know.
We may have
Can
to
you get
wait.
clarification?
I'm just asking a question because it also refers to 41, 14A, and that doesn't say anything about having that language in it that it's in perpetuity or until it's rescinded. So, like I said, I'm truly a little confused when I read that. It is part of the Senate bill. They threw that in there.
Well, I'm thinking that what they did is towns that don't have as justice may require until rescinded, like we do, if you don't have that, then before you do put in as justice may require, you have to put that provision in.
And that's what I would like to think, but I don't know.
In our 1994, we put it until we rescinded. We didn't put it until we rescinded. Something like that.
If we did, then we're probably all right.
Right, because what I see this law doing is it clarifies, because every time we call New Hampshire Municipal Association to say, well, we have this justice may require, this is the situation we have with this tax deeded property. And they said, yeah, there's a public benefit there, yeah, go ahead, it's okay. So this just codifies it into law, saying it's okay under, as justice may require to do those things. Yes.
So my other question is back to,
Yeah.
is back to, as I said, before proceeding under this provision, the governing body shall make an affirmative finding that disposal by method other than sealed by public property is in the public interest. So, by us doing what we're suggesting, it really only benefits a few.
Well, it benefits that neighborhood.
That's right, a few, as opposed to time.
Correct.
And I don't really, I don't know the answer, I'm just throwing this out there, so would it be more of a benefit to the town as a whole if it was sold as a house?
Or the other thing is if it was sold in a conservation easement,
then that would be truly a benefit to them, right? Because it would be helpful.
So we'd have to, if they were going to do that, have that way, we'd have to do the conservation easement that is a little different than the other ones that allows some use, but benefits all.
Do we have conservation, so putting the criteria that it doesn't come up?
Yeah, conservation easement is very hard to read, to say, you can't take away conservation easement, it's very difficult, and also, conservation easement can pretty much say anything. It just spells out that for till eternity, this is the way it will be done. And it's overseen that it will be done by conservation all the time. To make sure that will always remain that way. Change it. So it's actually stronger than this is.
We had a piece of property in town. In the deed, the owner decided that the trees could be cut in state forest. Or at least, the owner bought it, we cut all the trees down. So it was a conservation easement. It could, but it most likely would not, because
Much
now
more
the
responsible.
town is overseeing it, the conservation commission that oversees those conservation properties, so they're much more aware of it. No, it would be town property. It would be owned by the town.
David, conservation easement, they were owned, but that.
Oh, you're
portion
talking
of the-
about, I see what you're talking about.
Did, they have to discuss conservation commission reasons. But it's very complicated, so people have
Safe.
super reduced taxes, but still have a lot of open spaces.
I thought you meant conservation.
Well, it says towns and cities may retain and hold for public use as real property the title to which has been acquired by them by tax collector's deed upon a vote of the town meeting or city council approving the same. So if the town wanted to keep it, they could go to town meeting and have a vote and say, we want to keep it as open space. And then the town would own it and keep it as open space and put a conservation easement on, similar to what we did with the Wakefield, Dodge Wakefield property.
Options.
What options are there to keep it?
But if they have a property, they can purchase it, then they would get that, so that's what they're doing now, so they can pay it back. So,
Do we have other interested parties? Is this what the issue is?
Well, I think we should find out.
It's been up for, it's been in existence.
Yeah, we auctioned it and we had two bidders and they both withdrew.
They both withdrew, and it's been like 4 years.
we auctioned it during a time when real estate was not selling out, people were not building, the market was not right now, you have, they're selling, people weren't. That's the only reason I brought it up. So, you know, as John said, it's open land, the conservation easement, it does serve all of the town. So, I'm just asking.
So the board would have to decide, do you want to sell it or do you want to, I mean, do you want to auction it, which is usually what we do, or do you want to sell it by sealed bid to the abutters?
If we're gonna sell it, I say anybody.
And then sell, you just sell it outright?
First thing is, in terms of what we're going to put on, how we wish to have a conservation or something, and that's very clear.
I say keep
That's
it.
what you have to decide.
Criteria is open space, conservation easement, open space. Sell it to one of the others, and period.
I say put it for sale. If they can put a home on it, great. It's more taxable and, hey, it's allowable. Sorry. If it's sold to an abutter and merged, it's not gonna generate income. The land value's gonna go up a few dollars. We'll get maybe $5 more in taxes. It's, we get a building and a lot on it, we're gonna get lot.
Well, what generated this is we received a letter saying that they would like to purchase it and that they would be willing to merge the lot to keep open space.
You can't go and choose an individual butter to be the one who's purchasing property. I mean, it's the same thing with Sherwood Road.
Excuse me, didn't we just do that up on Winter Street? By Steel Pit, we did do
Well,
that.
that was a landlocked piece, which is
Yes.
different than this. This one has value. Landlocked, unless you're in a butter, what are you gonna
Offer
do?
it to everybody, everybody that touches
We
it.
put this up for auction, we had 2 bidders on it, they both renewed. So we did our due diligence as selectmen on this piece of property, and it's been 4 years now. We have somebody coming forward that would like to, so we put that person aside, go to the abutters and say, here's the criteria. It remains open space, like the RSA says, remains open space, conservation, and you must merge it with your existing property.
Didn't say you.
I'm saying this is what we make it as my opinion, this is.
Well, it
what
says
the
consolidate.
Consolidate, and this is what it is. The abutters, offer it to the abutters, whichever one comes forward with the most money, that's the one we offer it to. Here we go. And now we've done our due diligence. We don't need to complicate this into a full-blown, go to another auction, it costs money for another auction, and there's no.
Seal bids. On this date.
Like I said, we need to decide what we want to do with the property.
We're not gonna
Now we
agree.
have land use, take a look at.
It's really nice for all the selectmen to live in different parts of the town and not have to live in that kind of town where you're gonna have a little tiny, tiny space and think that you're gonna put a house up on a granite slab, or a granite piece. I
I'm
mean,
saying that, so we need to go.
well, you're not saying that, but you're saying that.
We all have our own
We all
problems
have-
in our neighborhoods.
We all have different issues in our neighborhoods, and that's what I'm trying to say to you. We're not going to agree on this.
Okay, but we need to go through a decision. That we should probably contact land use, have to take a look. Decide what
What's
is.
land use gonna say? They're gonna say the same thing we're saying.
Anyway, that's why it came up, that's why we're talking about it, because we've been approached.
We are using a lot of so right now, the town owns that property. So,
You have to keep it.
but I thought the selectmen would purchase properties.
Yeah, but what's that have to do with it? We already own it, we wouldn't be purchasing it.
So, you're aware of the
Yes, you have to go to town meeting if you're gonna keep it. The advantage to waiting, because now we're in our 4th year, is that we're beyond the 3-year mark, so we're free to do whatever we want. We get to keep 100% of whatever we get. Sure, but why would someone buy that if they weren't right there in that neighborhood? But, I mean, what would,
Conservation easement is simply reinforce the open line. No development required. Which is what the person would like, what's the buyer wants to do, what we do. And then why would they object to something that we keep it that way in perpetuity, would be very difficult.
right, that's why they should have bid at the auction, when we all had it up for auction.
They did,
Oh, they did bid?
right, they did. They were like,
They
they were like the third in line, they were the third in line.
A conservation easement.
We didn't go to
just
the
make
third
that
person.
open line stronger. Without some reason.
If they merged it, yes.
No, no, they wouldn't have to merge it. That would have opened up to a.
Neighbor across the street purchase it, conservation easement, purchase it for the solar. That they want to keep it open space across the street from the property, where the nice conservation easement on it that allows for or whatever is acceptable by everyone's going to agree. Yes, but then you keep this one person.
Well, and,
Can't see that.
I think we can advertise.
well, let me see if our current statute, what the town meeting has adopted, doesn't have to be changed.
Why don't you come up with options and maybe more or something else, so this is valid, the taxes on that. There's water and sewer near the property, you have to bring it through, but that's our job. Yes.
Okay. And it, maybe we do have to take something to town meeting.
Can you research what the benefit of the selectmen, what their bid was back 4 years ago, because they were the third bidder. Just curious.
Why didn't the board go on down the line when,
At the time, we were hoping that the second bidder was going to take it, and then they found out the second bidder would be later, but the second time, we
Third bidder didn't know if they're not to pay.
well, if the third bidder was gonna take it, they would have to take what it sold for.
didn't offer, we didn't offer. There was a gap between funds.
Their bid was not, that's why we didn't accept it.
Right. There was a difference.
But it was third.
What's next? And I lost my agenda, what's next?
That's what you need to send it to somebody.
Yes, and I'm still in the process of writing that, so when we go on to selectmen's reports. Yes, everybody's doing great on doing that. Well, I was writing on mine, yeah. That's basically what I've been doing since last Thursday. Bob's Lock and Key, we were thinking that I was gonna get a price on putting, you know how we have the push-button lock on the door of the old copy room? That we would get those for the new copy room. Are they very expensive, do you know?
It was a little costly, I thought, when we did it. And the problem is, everybody knows combinations, so.
You can change it.
Yeah, we can change it.
Periodically change.
Well, you have to-
In the long run,
You want me to tell you where it's written down?
I know that. In the long run, it's gonna be cheaper than buying keys. What do we pay per key?
Well, I don't know, what does it cost to reset it?
Okay, so if we, what are we talking about, finding out
No, two of them.
two more?
The other doors.
Can we not just go, we don't have anybody in town that can just put a doorknob?
We have doorknob locks on them. They're keyed now.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. Just goes to the same thing, the same flash, anything you install it.
So you just buy it, install it, they give you the code, you give you the password.
Oh, there isn't anything fancy about it? Okay,
Pick them up at Lowe's, Home Depot.
okay,
One, drop it in, $20.
okay. All right.
And then, I'm talking about logs that you, so park commissioners have an issue with, I won't say where in town, we have a log, we don't have keys to. And, I was asked by the commissioners to get the logs that place it. And we've since discovered that we can take our log set to Brian Ryan's, and he only charges $10 for a new log set, so it's $30. The key company come out, they charge us $75 just for a meter.
Press release for the new town administrator. I haven't sent it out. I wanted you to review it. She will be here this evening to sit in on the candidates' night if you wanted to make an announcement on camera. And I can take a picture and then I can send it to the newspapers.
That last sentence, the first paragraph,
What? First sentence. I have to work.
Can we, Casey, can we take a look at that, as I go through all this, and then release it for next week?
Sure.
How's that? Everybody take a look?
You didn't. Tonight.
Okay, I'm looking at time, chief's review, we have a whole lot of this here, I'll get finished by
There's no
6:30.
sentence.
the last sentence of the first paragraph.
The last sentence of the first paragraph.
Just saying, it's a little bit.
Oh, yeah, but that's on John.
To the other end.
I
Did you
just,
like your quote?
I just said, oh, that's John quote.
I could have sworn you said that, John.
I probably did. It's in the last
Except you have to know. Didn't you have two pens?
That's what I don't know. One in.
I just,
Yep.
I don't want to read this, it's fine, but I really hope you will take out that last sentence.
The last sentence of the first.
Just take the last sentence out of the first paragraph. They're not, it's okay, just read it, but I really don't think that last sentence should be in there.
But I think it's true.
It may be true, but you could really publicly want to say that, think about the impact, think about what you're saying.
Yeah. You wanted to hire the most experienced person. That person that had the most experience? No, and when you're rating them, when you're rating them,
That's not. Actually saying it.
well, I could take out the quote.
Maybe put something in, maybe,
That means, scale.
I think it's the,
yeah, maybe by far.
Take out the by far.
I would take out the whole sentence. It isn't necessary. You're lauding her with her accomplishments. That just isn't necessary.
She was chosen as.
It isn't necessary to add that in there. The fact that she was chosen says it.
By far, take out the
I'm gonna disclaim if you read it. That's really.
I go ahead, take it out. John.
Yeah, that's easy, that's easy. Yeah, strike that.
If I was John, I'd maybe quoted as saying that. We had some very experienced, talented people on the field.
That's tough.
Out of the 34 applicants for the position. cross off the whole sentence. Is there anything else you want to say? Just cross off the whole thing?
And everything else is good.
And then just, no, I wasn't clear. Gail gave me the information on the governor's veto, so you want me to go ahead and prepare a letter from the board? They're voting on September 13th, so there's time
The
to.
letter is. I believe the letter, I thought was the same letter in there, that we are asking our legislative representatives to override the criticize the government. And doing what he does is best.
We still haven't received an estimate from Squires.
I've called more than twice. I feel if I call again, thank you. I'm going to suggest that it may be more work than wants to take on. Perhaps that's what the play does now, or hopefully with an estimate. So I don't know if the board wants to pursue. I'd like to hire it out to a larger company because it's an expensive. Works very hard, we should be doing this last season.
Well, the weeding, but not the trimming the trees.
Here,
The weeding is the worst.
Okay.
speaking of trimming of the trees, we're gonna have to go, all the employees went to the T-square training on trimming the trees, and I went along too. Remember, I brought all that back. Right, I took it in. In May, all the public works employees again went to the same training to learn how to prune trees. Our trees have not been pruned, despite 2 trainings which they tout that they're experts in on their resumes, and they won't pick up a pair of clippers. This is horrible. This is horrible. The public works needs to go take care of this in their town, period. That's it. And they have been trained, if they haven't been trained, they shouldn't have that certificate.
How long ago?
It's never been this way.
Weren't they going to take the course so that we could get their
One person emphasis objective. They have one guy who separates the boards.
Probably has to take the test. But that's something that we can at least.
All right, so if we don't hear from Squires on Friday, we'll turn it over to Public Works.
I think we really need to
Well,
find
no,
out.
no, no.
I was gonna say that's, one selectman's opinion is so correct, I have to agree with that, the opinion of the other two.
We, 2 years ago, all the public works employees, including myself, went to a training, T-square training, to learn how to prune shrubs, trees, and to maintain careful. In May, all the public works employees went again to the same course to learn how to prune shrubs and trees, and do that on, got a certificate for it, so I've seen that twice. Yet, nobody is pruning the shrubs and the trees in the summertime. The suckers off the bottom and maintaining it. So I'd like to know why, and I don't think it's a good idea for us to be sourcing it out. That is, I agree with that.
And so we're gonna find out why they're not doing it. That's
It happened with
If
it
we don't
happened
get
with
an estimate tomorrow, we turn it over to public works tomorrow, which they really should, they should have been doing this all season. We shouldn't be here, we put down towards the beginning of May. It was absolutely amazing, really crab grass, and the park most areas, it's just amazing.
tree, grab out the tree outside and see how that's going to form something that's going to be done.
Are we keeping a list of all of the things that need to be done with public works? Because this, every week we seem to think that seem to have a list that is an ongoing list that's not being done. And I'm not sure if by fall, all of this is going.
So all the years, I've been, never had the contract, I'll try to take care of these things. Because they don't know what work. But it's in the past, I've been there for years. Just saying.
You know, and I've been feeling the things about center of town, the weeds, the trees, some sidewalks down there in Pasco on Main Street.
Because of the
Because
grass.
of the trees, there's trees hanging over the one where you have to, just, we brought this morning mentioned last week, well, that if you try to walk from the police station down to Cumbies, you could not do so without having to, you have to have very well walking to the street. So it's
I think that also, I'm not, I did want to say, reiterate the comment we made. We have hired out that trees. We didn't have to post it.
Did want to get higher chickens.
Yes, to do the trees, because they weren't trained. They're on the tree.
Everybody's in
But they always, Public Works always maintain.
the bottom of it.
suckers.
So I mentioned that our air commissions, our air job descriptions for our commissioners.
Our commissioners are responsible for parks. Main Street's not.
One of the key things, we're very fortunate that we have a center of town that has so many businesses in there. And that's our face. We need to keep that, our very, very clean and have, make everything look really nice. Trees pruned, the weeds done. And what I see is a lack of detail.
A couple years ago, we had community service people galore that was around. And they went along and picked up some of the weeds that were growing up in between the curbing and the sidewalk, which is kind of nice. Now, it's this high. It looks terrible.
Regardless, you know, if there's if there's snow and all that, we clear the snow. If there's weeds, we clear the weeds. If there's weeds, we clear the weeds. If sand, we clear the sand. If you have to go down there with a weed whacker and pull them, that's what has to be done, not what, you know, that's all.
Yeah, it's just for summer.
You know,
It isn't.
this is a direct responsibility of Public Works.
Exactly.
It's always been
I
done.
didn't realize the priority, now it's a priority.
It'll
Find out if all there's in it, no, it doesn't.
It's not a priority. It is part of the board's responsibility. It's infrastructure, it's everybody's.
You know, I don't want to turn this into a debate, but I'm very adamant that we need to maintain the center of town. And regardless of why it hasn't been done, it needs to get done and immediately. T-Hawk parking lot, I do not understand why that has not been striped. Despite last week we said it must get done by our next meeting regardless.
And I conveyed that information.
And this was been told that it must get done. This was told that it would get done in May. It was promised that it would get done back in May. I went through the minutes, I went through it, looked at the reports from the public works director, stating that he would do it next week, back in May.
Are we having a professional coming next week, or are they?
No, it's, Rich
So, right after that, the summer's over, it's Labor Day. We went the whole summer with lines that are parking, pointing the wrong way, the parking spaces. Now it's the end of the season, when it's busy, when everybody else is doing things. One person would need Jane, it's a it's shameful. So, I hear it. So,
I have a question, are we gonna go back to chip seal check for the ambulance crystal? So we figure out what was going.
Why?
Well, they were supposed to have filled in autos and sealed cars and didn't. They really don't care for a job that they didn't do correctly.
I believe that was DPW's responsibility to prepare the base for them.
Do we know?
They're not gonna prepare it, that, they came into chip seal.
When I talked to them, they told me that's what they did.
What?
When I talked to him,
Bruce
he
did.
was sitting here, and he described the process. He said that's what took place. It wasn't clear to me at that time. Yes, well, that's what they do. If you go to the website, that's what they do. So do we have
What, when you say
contact
that's what they do,
the chip seal people?
what do they, yes, what do they do, please?
They fill in the cracks, they seal potholes, and they chip seal.
So you'll have to look at the contract, because I doubt it was that was in it.
I was aware of sealing cracks.
So do we have a copy of that contract agreement? So therefore, my question.
Hold it until next week, and we'll look at the contract.
It was brought up to my attention when things around town that the public works department installed the sewers on Hunter Street. The sewer leaks and the risers. And I talked to Tim, there was a bill going out for the time. A billing for the time. It was, I would like to know who authorized that. Told the public works department to go and install sewer riser on a state road when near vicinity. This is an example. This is why the rest of the towns have done because the sewer stuff. It's not town business.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember
Arthur's done it.
Dennis did it, we did Rescue Road, and
Yes, it is, it's town infrastructure, it's absolutely much
The
business.
sewer district is supposed to be
It's not a
taking care
sewer
of that.
district.
Sam, why they raised the
That was on a
risers.
town park.
It's
This
the
is
town
Steve Road.
sewer, it's the town sewer, it's the town's infrastructure.
Up
It's
to
not a
the,
district, and it's always been, because it saves the town money.
it saves the
Public
ratepayers.
Works.
Doesn't save the town.
Great majority of the town ratepayers, but
It's the
it's
jurisdiction.
always been the practice that Public Works has done that. But they bill the sewer
They
commission.
I
and they
remember
comes
bill.
out the fees. So if Public Works has failed to bill the
So-
sewer commission, because they need to.
He didn't know he was supposed to build the sewer.
So there's, that's the problem. So if
Well,
they're supposed to be.
He was asked to do it,
Who asked me to do it?
John.
So the sewer commission secretary can call up the public works department and have them stop working on downtown, doing all these things and striping lots to put in sewer risers on the state road.
If you would like to override the previous board of selectmen that allowed this to take place.
I never came before, it never came before this board of selectmen to allow the public works director to work on
This
the
is a
street.
continuing board, board of selectmen is a continuing board. So.
I'd like to see that, I'd like to see that motion because
Well, you don't have that board for years, probably way before my time. But I'm telling you that you would like to reset that and change that practice. This board is more, is quite capable of maybe changing.
I make a motion that the sewer commission cannot go and order to have work done by the public works department without going through the board of selectmen first. Make that motion.
You guys.
We-
the
yeah.
invitations to the sewer commission, was the town clerk.
So you spend half a day putting in risers. Send us a bill for a day, I don't care, it's like,
That would be like requiring the sewer commission to get board of selectmen permission before we define ourselves for the tax collector. Tax collector, or the tax collector and treasurer. They're both required.
If the selectmen, if Public Works Department does not put in risers for the roads, then what would the sewer department do?
They would be privately contracted out at a significant cost.
Can sewer pay for the risers? I mean, that doesn't come out of
Sewer
the
pays
public.
for that.
those are our risers.
Yeah.
We just store them at
We're not-
DPW.
okay. Public Works is always dealing for it.
Okay, you order the risers and they're stored
It
there.
comes out of the sewer.
So it's
fee,
just
it
labor.
goes into the- it's all those tax rates. That's what-
When they build, when you say when they build to sewer, does the labor get billed to sewer?
I believe so.
Highway?
I thought it did.
If we bill the cost, then
You said that it didn't.
Right, I don't see that anymore. I don't see that, that's directly
Fire
from
director,
finance director handles all that, and Johanna, that would have been
Unaware of any billing.
No billing?
Either way.
How long ago? Do you know?
Yeah.
But this came up when we were doing the parking lot, we were paving the parking lot, and Dennis just did it.
And when we did, when, the state came in and did Route 3, all that work, a few years ago, it was Public Works that put in rises, I believe, for that wasn't
No, I think this,
No, we hired someone.
we did hire
Yeah, we
someone.
had a subcontractor,
it? Oh, yeah.
Martinez.
We used
Yes,
the
that's
same
right.
contractor that the state was using.
Yeah,
So you see, there were some projects.
So why didn't they do that on yours?
because they didn't want it in the contract.
Didn't have a contract with it. It's our sewer. It's a town, Tilton sewer. And it saves,
It's-
like I said, it saves a lot of money.
It
Wasn't
depends
the
on
town
what,
took the sewer on 311?
because of the project, depends which bureau, what part of the, it's coming up. Construction, if it's part of the district maintenance, that's different. This was major reconstruction, that's overlay.
And so we didn't have to pay for this
Yeah.
company to come out specially to do wires. We didn't have to pay that cost, or we didn't pay. So it was,
So the issue sounds like that there's a disconnect in the billing portion of it, that we're not getting reimbursed, and that needs to be corrected,
That
that we're
needs to
getting
be
reimbursed.
The disconnect is that we have a public works director that was short on employees. He doesn't have the opportunity to go and hire other employees and subcontract others and to get these duties that he's obligated to. So we sit here and we say, why didn't the center of town get it done? Why did these are the things that he's obligated, he's supposed to be doing? The sewer district, at the same time, was
it's
having
not a
him do
district. It's not referred to.
the sewer commissioners had him go and directed him directly to go and install sewer risers on the state road. Now, I'm saying that that's wrong. I'm saying that the chain of command for it to go down and be directed to public works director is completely out of control.
Did that ever go through?
Again, on top of it, I have weekly reports. I look through weekly reports going back on what was done in the past. Back to March. Once it's been mentioned that they went on Winter Street and installed sewer risers.
Can't control the Public Works director.
We can't control the content of his
Here I am
reports.
as a selectman, finding out that things aren't getting done around town that need to get done on Main Street, and that there was some side job that was getting done. The sewer commission, this is how I interpret it. Okay, so that some separate side job was being done, what I call covertly It's my calling it. Well, the responsibilities to the townspeople in the center of town got ignored. That's my piece. We have a motion on the table, so.
Number one, the public works director never conveyed to Johanna, the sewer commissioners, that he was not capable because of being understaffed or too busy, that he could not do it. That was never conveyed. What took place is what is taking place where probably we are all practice in this town. Public works, Dennis would be aware of projects, we get the rings, we get the rings. That's the way it was done. And then that department builds the sewer because it is separate funding. And we reimburse. It's always the way it's been done. It's nothing covert, nothing sneaky. It is town of Tilton infrastructure. That sewer is owned by the town of Tilton. Doesn't matter if it's a state road. The town's sewer runs under that. It's the town's responsibility. So
There's something that I'd like to
it saves a lot of money.
I get that I'm not saving money because I'm a user, so if you're gonna add contract fees on top of that, and it's my sewer, it's gonna go up in price if you don't do that. So I get that we work together with the sewer commission, it's gonna save the town some money, the users, if we can do that. I would like to make it so that if Johanna knows that there's a project coming up and there's sewer rises that need to be done, that obviously you know ahead of time when it's gonna happen, that she's treated like any one of our other department heads that go to our public works liaison and say, you know, Ridge Street's coming up, we need the rises, and this is what it's gonna go. So that liaison knows that we need to tell the public works department, number one, that this is gonna happen, and this has now become a project that we need to work on, and that it needs to be built properly and managed properly, so that it now becomes part of all of that whole, which it's not been done.
That might help the communication and the lack of billing.
Lack of building, lack of communication, and John's right. I mean, that is not the only reason things are not getting done properly and not getting done. I put in last March for some senior center porch getting color washed up there last March, and that's still not being done. I'm gonna have to do that because we got to the school waiting to paint the porch. That's not the only reason why things are not getting done properly. And if we have a disconnect in communication, and it's the way things are being going into the highway department, coming out of the highway department, we need to fix that. It's not going to take tonight to fix that at all. But now that it's being explained to me, and I do remember Dennis going and doing the rises, and I do remember communication about the rises and putting in rises on special projects. I don't have an issue with that happening. I do have an issue with it being built properly, and I do have an issue with everything being blocked and suddenly that becomes the priority. We need to make sure that that's not being done. We need to have it properly put in.
Motion, the sewer commission cannot look without going to the US. So
It's the motion.
change the US
Second.
to the
Okay, we didn't vote stuff.
Peter has his hand up.
Here's the issue. We give the go-ahead to do the rises, that's fine, that's early on. Then what happens? Tomorrow we're coming in to pave. They usually get very little notice, 48 hours maybe. So then you come back, oh, we're busy. Then what does sewer do? Most of the time when they're doing risers, it's probably half a day or less, because it's probably a half a dozen to a dozen risers, depending on how long the paving project is.
In the past, public works is where we just said, we
We're real short on time. We have 12 minutes. Thanks. One more. Okay.
So the question is, the motion is
Read it.
The school commission cannot go to DPW without going to the board of selectmen.
Do you want them to go to the board of selectmen each time?
Project for
Not the liaison.
But Dennis used to bring things right to start.
So I just want to get this one down. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
And like,
The sewer commission,
We're
are
back next week. If we skip right over that, not next week,
sewer
so
commission is Tuesday.
So did you get the coffee?
It's like 4 ounces of stuff. 5 ounces of flour. Everything. The whole pictures.
that's cool.
Arrange like a hot for. Or you get like so things will come up and do it.
We're going to go into non-public, we just start the evaluation. That time of year, so we're going to make it as quick as possible. Of course, we have a public hearing and all that at 7. So I'm thinking about 15 minutes. Thanks. So I'm going to make a motion that we go to non-public as per RSA 91-A:3 paragraph 2. A, the dismissal, promotion, and compensation of any public employee or discipline of such employee when the investigation charges against him unless the employee affected has the right to have a meeting, request a meeting to be open, in which case the request shall be granted. So, let's do a roll call vote.
Second?
Second, Constantino?
yes.
Fogg? Yes. Dawson?
Yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Okay.
We are red is on.
Make a motion to seal minutes of non-public as they contain personnel permanently.
So, roll call vote. Constantino?
Yes.
Fogg?
And just a majority coming out, so going in the,
This is seeing the minutes permanently, and I don't remember if you want to roll call or not.
Dawson?
Yeah.
Scanlon, yes. So moved.
Yes. Joyce, are you moderating?
Oh, we are red, but there's only,
We're going to start supper.
Oh, right.
Where it's scheduled, supper.
yeah,
How is it going to flow? That's what Catherine's
Oh, I'm
asking.
sorry, well, no, because yeah, then what I would suggest is that the candidates at the table, when they did before, selected in the audience, and then I'll ask each of them to introduce themselves, just get a brief, just a few minutes, of why your interest is, and then I'll have this, and go around to all, just like it's. What? Here, ask questions, and then all the candidates would have an opportunity to answer the same question. I think to start the conversation going, the selectmen should start asking questions.
And you have to talk into the microphone.
Because on our tape, you can't hear.
Okay.
We'll start that at, we have that on the agenda for 7 p.m. So, selectmen's reports, squeeze it for about
Yes, next week. And my insurance paid for it.
You want us to do two reports?
No, we talked about
Can't
this
see it.
in session.
So you have a motion that Tim has asked us to make, but I don't think we can make that motion, it's on the chip seal, we're putting off on the chip seal.
I took that out there together as well with Chuck.
I'm just leaving. I do have a question, I'm gonna question it until we get an answer. Do we have an update on the Deer Street, old Freda, however you wanna say it? Does anyone have an update on anything from the state as when that's gonna be filled in? School starts next week.
I remember the last time we asked, they were supposed to be finishing up the project, I thought it was 2 or 3 weeks ago they were going to be finished. Then they did their part, we was installed, but that's public works, Joyce. Joyce, you hear that question?
Joyce, did you hear that question?
Deer Street, what's an update on Deer Street?
I was gonna ask you guys if you heard anything, because we're just waiting for the state is taking over the work.
So,
You can ask them what the works are, yeah. You can ask them what the works
well,
are.
it's a coordinated effort, isn't it? We're supplying equipment, they're supplying materials, I believe. So he should be checking with them to find out this.
And maybe he has.
And I got a phone call today from a business owner. Wasn't particularly happy about the fee schedule for construction permit. But, we're all aware that we approved the increase in 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And, asked us to take another look at it. There's 2 or 3 folks right now that are not happy with us. It's $300 for an application review fee under routine maintenance. So if somebody has a roof replacement, it's automatically $300 for an application.
That's new building.
Under routine maintenance. Routine, it's application review fee under routine maintenance. Regular routine maintenance. So,
That's in another box.
Is this something we want to
Permit.
take up next week?
Yeah,
This is
this
pretty
is-
involved.
it's really involved, and so I would probably ask Dari, maybe, he's asked to come in next week, we didn't have any more this week, so. He's asked, he's asked to come in next week and explain the situation. There was actually no movement from him, so. Does everyone have a copy of the building permit on the back? You have it?
Yep. Joyce?
Yes.
Can you check with Brock? Traditionally, catch basin cleaning is done in the spring. I don't believe we've done any this year, so can we get an update on that? Second thing would be, okay,
He had said that there was too much water in the catch basin, that was the reason, and that they wouldn't be doing it.
except for we normally do them in the spring when we didn't have Ray, we were in drought mode. But, okay, the other thing.
The report said that that was canceled because of weather back in May too, it was postponed.
Yeah.
Because
We have a huge drought situation.
And Joyce, sand salt shed, what are we doing? The wall and all? Highway? F-550 decal? Is it-
the town decal on yet?
I don't know, I haven't seen it this week. The last time I'd seen it, the new one still is not decal. So the truck we received last October, we've now ordered the decals. No, the truck we had in possession last October, we're now ordering the decals for.
He's already ordered ours on board, he's waiting for it.
I think the point
Okay,
is.
the point is, let's,
No follow-up?
That's it.
like I said, we took care of most everything we think we do, something very good.
The next thing is Scott wants to be recognized, Scott Davis, wants to be recognized, to talk to the board.
What they said here.
Come up front,
Mike,
microphone.
please.
Yeah.
I have a statement and I have a couple of questions. The statement is, when I said here, oh, can you hear me now? When I said here last spring and you had the candidates night, there was discussion at the candidates night about what would you do to attract businesses to the town of Tilton. And I have to say, I've lived in town 25 years and I'm disgusted with the way the Main Street looks. When you can't walk from this town office to the police station without getting slapped in the face with bushes, we'd be ashamed of ourselves. And if you think you're going to draw a business to town, you're not going to do it with the Main Street, with the grass growing up, the weeds, the way the Main Street sidewalks look. It's shameful. And I'll tell you, you guys can sit here and discuss it all you want until something's done. Nothing's happening. And it's the worst I've seen in 25 years. And it's not getting any better. We have suckers out here that are at least 2 years growing. They haven't been cut. I mean, they're up above my knees. I mean, if you get out here, unless you got blinders on, you're not seeing it. Everybody else driving through town, we have 30,000, 25,000 cars a day, and they're seeing that. The second thing I have is a question. June 2nd, 2016, you had a meeting at the Father Booton Center about the traffic control on Chestnut Street, Prospect Street. Where do we stand? What has been done? Nothing? That's shameful. 26 months, and not one thing has been done or accomplished on that. You had a public hearing for what? Just to hear us complain about what's going on? Traffic hasn't got any better, it's getting worse, and not one thing has been accomplished with that. Third thing I have to say is I thought that the Board of Selectmen, it took a vote of the Board of Selectmen for an action of any of the departments in this town to expend funds and to perform work in this town. I didn't think that somebody else could ask, and my point is, why is the Highway Department putting the sewer risers on Winter Street? Why did the Highway Department purchase them? Why did the Highway Department go pick them up? I'd like to know that question.
They didn't purchase them.
Yes, they did. They were bought through the Highway Department.
They didn't bill us back. We normally order them, we get them delivered, and they're stored at Public Works.
Why did they put them in?
Well, let's see, we've been doing it since before Dennis, most likely. I've seen Arthur do it on School Street, so it's not like this was the first year it's ever been done.
It's always been a practice, always has been public works. This is the service, including supervisors, necessary. It is still.
And yet we got no Main Street being taken care of, but we're doing the sewer risers. Is that what you're telling me? That they've got time to do that, but they can't take care of Main Street on the... Fred Wells used to always be on Main Street with his trimmer, trimming. Saw him 1,000 times. Or Jay Boynton, he would be out here with his trimmer trimming. I have seen nobody trimming all year. I'm sorry.
I don't think big prices on Winter Street, remember that's Main Street, also the season.
Well, I think it's a difference though, Catherine. I think what you're referring to is when it was a town road. That's a state road.
It's still town infrastructure is the sewer that is owned by the town of Tilton, regardless of whether it's on a state road, town road.
I thought the sewer, no, but I gotta back you up. I was told that the sewer is maintained by user's fee, not through taxation.
That's why the Public Works Department bills the sewer commission.
For the hours too?
Yes, a much cheaper rate than if the sewer commission had to hire it out.
Could I get a copy of that, where they got paid back?
We have to go through the archives and find it.
No, just now. It just happened this last month.
We discussed it earlier, and it was discovered that this Public Works Director did not realize it was supposed to be given that to the town, because this is the first time from he was director that the Public Works has done it. The last time was that we raised rises, I believe, was with the Route 3 project, and we used the same subcontract that the state did, but this would save money, because it was already mobilized to do as I said to this board earlier this evening, this board secretary made a motion to rescind that years before, the motion to.
I made a motion. Waiting for earlier tonight to have, and to go for the non-public, and vote for Board of Selectmen prior to allowing me to run by a certain. I made that motion with the second.
Well, since we discovered that it was mainly a communication problem, the sewer commission's Tuesday night will take it up because it's honest that we use for the liaison, which would help bring that to the lack of the sewer commission's Tuesday night of the meeting. That hopefully will prevent happening.
And getting back to the parking issue 2.5 years ago, what are we gonna do? Is there gonna be anything done, or it's just a mute issue? Is that just gonna be something that's gonna be dropped?
Wait, on the chief, with the traffic study.
Traffic studies.
Yeah, but it's been 26 months, come on. If you couldn't get a traffic study done in 26 months, we might as well never. I mean, we'll all be gone before we do anything.
We have discussed it since that meeting. I, for one, so I don't see that there's a problem. There's everyone that lives in those areas has a driveway. And they can park on the street. That's just my opinion.
The board couldn't come to an agreement.
Well, maybe we ought to put it to a warrant article on the town and have the people vote on it, I guess.
Well, my suggestion was to let the police department, there's a safety officer, take a look at it and advise us. The last question that came before us was to hire an engineer.
It was like $2,600.
Yeah, the chief of police, the police department is quite knowledgeable on safety. If there's a safety issue, they can advise us.
In all fairness, Mr. Chair, the sad part of it is, in the wintertime, the parking, the highway department has to deal to swing in and out, and if I was a plow truck driver, I'd say, no way am I going up through there, to swing in and out around those cars. And then once they clean an area off, the person moves their car from the dirtied area where they were parked to the clean area, and then it freezes. I mean, it should be addressed because it's costing us taxpayers more money because now they've got to go back and clean up the ice that was left from the car parked there.
And that is the big issue.
Yeah, so I mean,
That should.
that should be addressed. I mean, absolutely. I mean, there is parking, off-street parking, but it's awful easy to park right in front of your house and walk in and leave your car on the street.
We did discuss, we talked about, we haven't for a few months, but along the parking on one side of the street. So parking on different streets. The hard part is that whatever we decided is to be creating another problem. Because we have to get back on this.
We have a current policy on the books that requires private drivers not park on the streets during those times, and we don't enforce it. Shame on us.
And also remember on these side streets, you have painted sidewalks. You don't have sidewalks that stick out. You have painted sidewalks. So if they park on, it's awful easy to park on the sidewalk and then you're walking in the street instead of being able to walk off the street and out of the traffic.
Scott, if you are interested in doing any sort of articles, we did have Steve Kern, our traffic engineer, give you the different standard layouts based on road width, the 2-lane, parking both sides, one side. We have got it buried in here if you're interested. Part of it is with the narrowness of those streets. Unless you go either one way, there's no way you can get parking in on most of them. And so I think that's, the board is sort of in different areas is how we want to go.
And that's why I'm saying maybe it's best to take it to the
Yep.
people. And then let the people,
Yeah.
if you can't make a decision, let
Right.
the people
Which
have
is
a vote.
fine.
I mean, we're a
Right.
democracy, we might as well have it to a vote.
Yeah.
Come up with some kind of a plan. If it's a couple of the streets are one way, up to a certain point to where the crossroads are, then so be it. But at least it would alleviate the issue that we're faced with. And if the people don't want to vote it through, then it's understandable, and that's the way it works. But I think 2.5 years, or 26 months is a long time to wait and not have anything actually be done with it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. There it is. Okay, so good evening. It's great to have everybody here tonight.
Good evening. So it's great to have everybody here. It doesn't happen too often that we have a selectman that moves out and resigns as being a selectman, and we have some great people who step forward to want to be the selectman. Another thing that we have here tonight is there's a lot of things going on in town. And one of them is Joyce's retirement. She's happy.
Easy.
We're sad, but it's understandable. It's the way it is. The other thing is that we are pleased to announce that we have appointed Jeannie Forrester as the Tilton Town Administrator. Jeannie will commence employment on October 15th and replace Joyce, who is retiring that month. There'll be a little bit of an overlap so that we can hand over the reins and do everything smoothly. We did have 34 candidates that are applicants for that position. There's quite a lot of interest. A lot of people like our town. A lot of our residents like our town, so it's very unique. Just a little bit about Jeannie. Prior to Jeannie's service to the New Hampshire State Legislature, which was 3 terms, she served as town administrative positions in Tufton Borough and New Durham. She also served as the executive director for the Main Street programs in Plymouth and Meriden. She also holds an MBA in Business Administration and a BA in Political Science from the University of New Hampshire, as well as certification in the National Trust for Historical Preservation Main Street program and the New Hampshire Economic Development Association's Professional Certification program. What's most impressive about Jeannie is her caring and compassion for people and the issues that are important to our community. One of the things that we as selectmen, we rarely see anybody who's running for an office or representative for that come through on a regular basis. Jeannie would pop in and see what's going on. It didn't matter if there was an election going on in the next month for her, or she came in, she had a true interest. And we couldn't find out we weren't all that special. She did this to every town that was in her jurisdiction. And then also went to the senior centers and gave out ice cream that they posted on a regular basis in summer. But so it was very special to find when Jeannie did show interest to be a candidate here. She looks forward to being with the board to achieve our goals, developing innovative ways to improve our service to the town within the budget, conservation of our town's natural and historic resources, attracting new businesses to improve improve our downtown, getting more citizens involved in various town boards and committees. Also increasing housing opportunities and well-paying jobs in our community. Just name a few of the things that we discussed with Jeannie during her interviews. And we're very fortunate to have Jeannie's skills and expertise as we face these challenges together.
That worked out great. Perfect timing. And we have some here that wish to be considered for nomination as selectmen. We have 5 candidates: Todd Bell, Eric Myra, Joe Jessamine, Julia Harvey, and Lisa Bright. I'll try my best to resign.
And I'm gonna get this sound.
So we're just going to ask some questions.
Gail, you're gonna be my timekeeper. Gail?
Oh, yeah.
Gail, you're gonna be my timekeeper, all right? Well, listen to me. I'm very excited that all of you are here. We did have 7 candidates, 7 people expressed interest. I wish we had this much interest on all of our other boards and committees, like planning and zoning, but, you know, selectmen is very important. 2 of the candidates had to withdraw for personal reasons. So why don't we start with first, why don't you each introduce yourselves to the group and say 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then, you know, why you're running for office and what you like about Tilton. And then from there, we'll take questions from the selectmen and from members of the audience. This is like school district meeting, you know, because in order for the video to pick up the sound because of the air conditioners and everything, you're really going to have to speak into the microphone, right, Tim? Thank you. So, Joe, we'll start with you.
Okay, my name is Joe Jessman. I know 99% of you in this room. I'm applying to be a selectman because I think I can help. I've got some experience in budgeting, and I know town policy, I know the zoning and the planning, and I know that there's a learning curve to being a selectman. The term's only 5 months, and it takes longer than that to learn what to do, the laws and everything else that goes with it. That's it.
Thank you, Joe. Eric.
My name is Eric Myra. I've been a resident in Tilton since 2001. I've been involved in the town in various ways. I have 2 children currently in the school system. One who will be a senior, hard to believe, this fall, and then one will be a sophomore. So I'm pretty entrenched in the town. I've been working locally now for the last 5 or 6 years. I'm currently involved in the planning board and on the zoning board of adjustment or appeal, and I'm also a commissioner for the fire district, and I've also been involved in budget committees, so I have some previous budgeting experience being in the town. So I think there's things that always need to be improved in town, and I think I can have a great contribution to that.
Thank you. Jules.
I'm Juliet Harvey-Bolia, and I know most of you here as well, and like Eric, I served on the planning board for about 5 years. I was on the budget committee for about 2 years, and I only stepped down because there was a conflict, because there's too many of us planning board members on there. I think it is a great town, and people do say a lot of great things about the town as I'm talking about it to other towns. It has a lot of potential that's unrealized. And as such, you know, one of my pet projects is downtown renewal. In case I don't get another chance, we're having a fall forum on Thursday, September 27th. The public is invited there's a lot of people here already involved. There's some flyers over there. But mainly, my interest is sort of revitalizing the downtown. And so I've taken the step, we're working with the UNH Cooperative Extension to start the first steps towards that process.
Thank you. Jason?
Hi, my name is Jason Wright, and if you've ever been to town meeting, you'll know that I'm a voice there, and I'm just ready to do more. I'm a New Hampshire native, born and raised. I relocated to this area from the southern part of the state in '96 as part of the Exit 20 growth boom. I grand opened that BJ's over there as the management team. I was the first to relocate physically to this area, you know, living in the Shalimar a couple nights a week. But I was here working before that floor was even poured, and we were hiring people and getting things up and running. Been active in some town things. I was approached over these 20-something years that I've lived up here to be a selectman, and the timing was never right for me personally. Our kids went through school. I'm fine that I'm at a place in my employment. I work for the state, so I've got my weekends back, I got my nights back, and I've actually had select people at this very table ask me to get involved as a selectman in the past. So, and some of the folks in the room and some of the folks out in town. I do have an opinion about just about everything, but I find myself better as a collaborator. I like to deal with facts. I like to debate and talk about issues before coming to a solution. I don't like to shoot from the hip. But that's why I'm here. I know it's a short term, but this may tee me up for running permanently. So it's a trial for me and a trial for the town, and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Jason.
Hi, I'm Todd Odell, and probably most of you don't know me. I relocated here in November from Littleton. When I was in Littleton, I had various responsibilities there for the community. I was a Park and Rec Commissioner for 7 years. I served on many committees and boards as well for projects. My background is in construction. So I worked for the state for 14 years as the lift maintenance mechanic, the head of the lift maintenance. So I was involved with projects like refurbishing the tramway, new ski lifts with the state bid process. My background also includes other construction, residential construction, but as well as, you know, on the committees for the police department in Littleton, fire trucks. So I do have a background in that. I love what I see in Tilton. The businesses that are here and established are, you know, they're good. This side of the town, the Main Street has a ton of potential, has a beautiful school on the hill, a beautiful river on the bottom of the hill. So revitalizing that would be one of the things that I would think would be a good focus as well.
Thank you. Now, we get to the fun part. So is there anybody that has any questions for any of our candidates? And whoever would like to answer first, just raise your hand, and then we'll give the rest of you an opportunity if you choose to respond to that question. So, yes, Stan. This is one of the candidates that declined. Sorry, but thank you.
You're welcome. One of the questions I would have for people when we talk about revitalization and we talk about upgrading of and upgrading of, what do you guys see as the way to cut costs and lower taxes? And when you want to revitalize, how will it get paid for?
You go first.
Jules.
Okay. I'm not sure what you mean exactly, Stan, by cutting costs for revitalization, but I can talk a little bit about how we might start this, any projects that we might have. I mean, so we haven't really gotten into it as far as getting grants, there are grants, and yes, a lot of them are matching grants. They're not, there's very little free money out there. But I am definitely interested wholeheartedly in getting as much free money as possible and cutting costs. I'm not interested in strapping the town with an enormous debt to fix up Main Street. But, I mean, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but people in this room even have been talking about getting grants. I've started to work with Joe Kenny. He's saying that he's going to find us grants. That's what he does. And if I could find matching grants to, say, bury the lines, the electrical lines running downtown and projects like that, then definitely I would. Okay. Anybody else? Jason?
Well, I think the thing to consider is, and I've seen the selectmen at work, is you're spinning a lot of different plates at a lot of different times, and Tilton is bigger than just the downtown. We have great waterfront that we don't fully leverage. We have, we have a lot of great resources, and some of the things I think we're missing out on in terms of cutting costs that may not be tied directly to revitalization, but I'll tell you, my particular job at the state right now is I run state surplus. There's a great opportunity for a lot of towns, several of which I've visited in the past couple months since I've been in the position, is leveraging partnerships with state buying offices. They have established contracts. They do reverse auctions on salt and other products for that municipalities can jump in on that are pre-negotiated, save tons of money in vehicles and other durable goods, service contracts. My division of surplus falls under the Bureau of Purchase and Property. So there's some great opportunities that I think a lot of towns are missing out on. That would go directly to our bottom line and our budget. Maybe that could free up some opportunity for downtown. But I think it's reaching out to these downtown building owners and pulling them in and asking them really what they want. Because you have a lot of absentee landlords, out-of-state owners that have planted their flag here, and why. And are they frustrated? Are they happy with what they have? There needs to be some communication and instead of just ramrodding revitalization down through the town without that partnership with those property owners. So, as a business owner in this area in the past and a property owner and lived and co-owned multiple zones in Tilton, you got to get out on the street. You can't solve it here. You got to get out with those folks.
Thank you, Jason. Joseph?
In the past, a lot of things have been tried downtown. A lack of enthusiasm from the people downtown has been one of the bigger stumbling blocks to this. Maintaining downtown in a proper manner is certainly a tough thing. I mean, we have some flowers, and thank you, Catherine. That's the highlight of downtown, right there. But what I would do going forward, and I don't know if this has anything to do with Mr. Brown's question or not, but I would rely on the individual that we just hired to pay, I'm assuming, good money to, that has been instrumental in revitalizing to the communities in this area that were depressed, and, they're now highlights of the area. So I would rely on professional experience and expertise.
Thank you, Joseph. Anyone else?
My name's Dennis Gaudette. I've been in town 29 years as a business owner. I own AutoServe right up the road. And there are two passions I still have in this town that I would like to see happen. The first is the revitalization of downtown. Quite frankly, I've looked at revitalizations of other towns and seen them so far ahead of us, yet they don't have the same resources we have with the water, the traffic count, the potential businesses here at Exit 20. And I find it very disappointing that we've fallen behind all of these other towns in the state of New Hampshire in revitalizing our downtown. So that's one passion that I have that I hope we're able to solve. And you've mentioned some ideas you might have towards that. But the second is engaging the business community. I'm curious as to what you would do to engage the business community and get them more actively a part of the town Because as a business owner up at Exit 20, I feel that there is very little communication with myself as a business owner up there and the other businesses, which at the end of the day, I think does solve a lot of problems. So I guess the long way around this is, what do you see as your best opportunities for engaging those businesses up at Exit 20 and getting them involved more in downtown and more of what goes on here?
Thank you.
Sure. It's funny because with my new position that I work in since last October, I get a chance to drive around the Lakes region, and I see a lot of little downtowns, and then I come back here to Tilton, and the first thing I'm going to say is that we all do it. We judge on appearance, and you look at downtown right now, and there's crabgrass growing up through the sidewalk and in the islands, and there's a dead tree on Main Street, and that's your first thing, and you can't ask a business to do that because they're already paying tax dollars. So you have to have the town invested in it, and then you have to have events, whether it's a newsletter with events, working with the Parks Department and having events. We have a great summer event that happens in town that draws people on a Sunday night. All these other little businesses in town, a lot of them close on a Sunday night, so it doesn't really benefit the downtown businesses except for right outside the park. So you have to really try to draw things, working with the Parks Department. They have the animals that come in here. There's the Riverfront Park on Old Home Day for the fireworks, and at Christmas time for the Christmas parade. So it's getting small town events, Old Home Day, getting a schedule, maybe having an event once a month that goes through downtown and gets people into the downtown area. We have some new businesses that are really starting to thrive in downtown, and we have to build off of that momentum. So it's really communication, everyone get newsletters, getting things out into the newspapers, out into the media, and getting on Facebook or other social media, getting things announced, getting the word out. I believe in guerrilla marketing for those types of things because word of mouth is what spreads those the most.
Thank you.
I'm not sure the answer to this question. Is there a business owners group that is vocal? And the other part of Dennis's question about revitalizing Main Street, there has to be an interest for Exit 20. Right now, people get off Exit 20, stay Exit 20, and they have no reason to come down here. So the businesses at Exit 20, they need to feel like there's a worth for them to help in this area, in this side of the town. So what is that? I don't have that answer, but that's what's going to help revitalize the town, I believe.
Thank you.
I'll go back in history a little bit to when we had the Main Street program, and my wife and I owned a business on the wrong side of the tracks. I see some knowing stares because the Tilton Main Street program and its grants and its funding and however it was chartered started from railroad track to railroad track, and that was the defining. It left, forget about Exit 20, it left out everything going to the Winnisquam Bridge, and that was the Main Street program. And you had a lot of businesses pop. Oh, but that's okay. The Black Swan was, kicking in some money, so they got to play, they got to participate. So I've been on that side of that as a business owner in town, and if you look at Tilton, when we try to build police stations, we try to build a fire department, we try to build, God forbid we ever have to move town hall, we try to do things that services to enhance for Tilton. Tilton is very linear. It's a little strip of land, all 7 miles of it, and we have to go from border to border, from the bridge all the way to Franklin, and it's a restructuring thing, really. It's not just looking at downtown. There's a lot of value, and there's businesses that are on side streets and home-based businesses and multifamily property owners that run that as a business too. So I agree there should be some sort of business community, but we don't have to invent the wheel. We can just go to those other towns that look good and say, what worked for you? We don't have to be great thinkers. We just have to ask great questions and go visit some of those towns and say, how'd you do it? What's your business community like? What's their input? Do they talk to you? And I don't think that's anything that we can turn the ship around in 5 months, but I think it's more of a message to the select boards, the current select board and those prior and those future that really have to make business happen for Tilton.
Jules?
Yeah, I'll be quick. What I've done, and because I'm interested in what business, how they feel about this and how they would like to get involved. So I've been just going door to door, talking to them. I've been to the Onions, I've been up and down Main Street, I've talked to Dennis, and I'll continue to do that as I, press forward with this forum. And I think what I would just start is just how do they want to be involved? So, I mean, one way, we've got our 150th anniversary coming up. That's a great opportunity for businesses to get involved. That's just one small way. It's not permanent, but let's get them involved and sing their praises and thank them for their contributions. That's one thing that other towns do, like Ashland during their 150th. And then we can talk about the businesses and promote that. I don't mind. I'd love to promote their businesses, Exit 20 or otherwise.
Thank you. Joseph? I think I've changed my mind. I want to stay. All this enthusiasm and ideas.
I've heard some wonderful ideas come out of the other people up here, and I would vote for any one. Like I say, the only thing that I might be able to help is that I already know how to be a selectman, and I would be willing to help these people get elected in March.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
I was just curious, is there a business owners group? There's not. So my thought would be to establish a business owners group and then have every 2 weeks you promote a business. So you have a dinner at that location or a happy hour or whatever, and you include both sides of the tracks, if you say. So that would be a suggestion.
Thank you. John, you've got to come speak.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, sure. Speak right in.
Scott Davis, Tilton. I'd like to know your stance on regionalization. It's happening all over the country. Sooner or later, Stan asked the question, how do you reduce taxes? If we don't start to look at regionalization, which has happened everywhere for our public services, whether it be the highway department, police, fire, of course we're in a fire district, but regionalization is happening all over the country with that. And also our municipal services. As Jason mentioned, the buying power if you get together with other towns. Why do we have duplication of services from each town when we could share the cost of those? I mean, I know it all comes down and people say it's a local control, they're afraid of losing. But the sad part of it is, we're looking at a police budget that's over $2 million now, when it used to be in the hundreds of thousands. We're looking at a fire, you said on the fire district, we're looking at a fire budget that's close to $2 million. I think it's the same with the school. Why do we have all the SAUs we have throughout the state? Why don't we just have one SAU per county? And that way, if you wanted to make an educational change, you take 10 people down. I'd like to know your stance on regionalization. Where do you stand on that?
Another great question. Who wants to go first?
Well, I'll go. For one, I think, yes, that's a salient point. And that can happen perhaps in a town like Tilton, but we don't have any control over the SAU combining. I'm not sure how that applies to the select board. Because we wouldn't have any say over that.
It's just another example.
It's another example.
It's an example,
Of
but
regionalization.
yes, okay, schools would be doing that because their enrollments have been down for 10 years, so yes, definitely, they're gonna have to think about it one way or the other. And as far as here, our population, as far as I can tell, has been pretty steady in Tilton. So, it's something worth looking into, but I don't see that happening here.
Anybody else? Joe?
I lived in Georgia for a while, and they have county government down there. Everything runs at the county level. They have a sheriff and a police chief and fire and everything, and they have satellite stations here and there where somebody in somewhere is making a choice about where to put the satellite station. And some towns don't like the fact that they're not getting a satellite station. They're not getting the emergency services. Maybe they pay the same
same tax rate to the county, but they don't get the same kind of services that they do in Atlanta, for instance. I think we regionalize quite a bit here and have for a long time, the school district, the fire district. We share water responsibilities. We're contracting for sheriff department services for dispatch and whatnot, and I think we might still on third shift yet. So, I mean, we do to a certain extent. It is a big question. Some people really are adamant about that local control. I'm a proponent of regionalization to a certain extent, but not like let's all give control to the county. You can see what's happening at the county level around here.
Thank you. Eric?
I think it's coming inevitably. I can't speak tonight, but I think it's something that you have to take a serious hard look at. Of course, it's going to be who's paying for it. I know I recently read in an article in the paper about up in the Newfound area where the ambulance was not, some people think the ambulance wasn't being paid for by the other towns that contracted. So those are all expenses you have to look at because they contract with one ambulance, you know, in the town of Bristol with other towns, and the residents of Bristol felt like they weren't getting, you know, the fair share of the ambulance because there's more wear and tear in the ambulance. So there's a lot of details that are going to have to be ironed out. You know, if just use an example, Chief, but if we regionalize with Samberton or even Northfield, you know, who's going to want the police station? Where's it going to be? So those are all things, and you know, if we have to, you know, build a police station on the river, over the river to balance and equal everyone out, you know, someone's going to pay a little more for it, someone's going to pay a little less for it, and it's, you know, how do you figure it out? And I know there's formulas and ways to do it, but it's something coming down the pike, and it's something that we all have to, you know, be prepared for.
Todd?
I think regionalization as far as expenses, if you can consolidate and buy as a whole, as a group, that will work. Otherwise, I think your coverage gets hurt, your services get hurt. I think it's very difficult to try and consolidate in that aspect. But I think it would be very tough on services.
Jason?
Yeah, I'll take a swing. Actually, when we sat on the, over the winter, the police department building committee, we got onto a side conversation about a project, something as simple as having a regional heavy truck maintenance program. There was a public-private partnership type of thing. Is some towns just aren't set up, or they spend too much time or money, or they don't have the talent. But that would be an example, having a pooled resource of, hey, fire trucks can only go certain places to get oil changes, and they can only go certain places to get their tires done. But having that type of and I see it more as goods and services and things that are people are already redundant, paying twice, and you know, we talk about it's a pain point of our fire district, but you know, maybe 30 years ago, Tilton and Northfield were more similar. Well, now they're very different, and we share a district, but you know, and the budget is reflected to go with the call volume. But there's got to be a time where Tilton has to do its own thing. Northfield might have to do its own thing. That doesn't leave out mutual aid. We still go fight their fire if they're having one, or they might come over here. But I think when Scott, we talk about regionalization, it becomes muddy when it's the administrative thing and who has to give up that. We have, you know, if we regionalize, there'll only be one fire chief, and who's that going to be? And it's the control thing, or who gets to be in charge. And it's innovative, but innovative is change, and change scares a lot of people. But I think on the administrative side, it'd be tougher to do, but there's plenty of leverage that can be obtained in pooling of goods and services and the dual spend. And I see that at the state level. It's insane, the opportunities that exist that just aren't being tapped anymore.
Thank you. John? Always got a list.
No, just so I can stay on track and get lost. Better listen.
Small piece of paper.
One of the things is, this is a 5-month term as opposed to a 3-year term, so you may just be here 5 months.
Talk into the mic.
Yeah, is it on? Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. So, thanks. So, this is a 5-month term as opposed to a 3-year term, so there's not a lot of time to get things done, big things done. What do you individually, do you feel that your job is, and what can you contribute over such a short term? So I want to know what you think that the job will entail and what you will be doing, and what things can you contribute to bring to the table to accomplish those things?
Coming up is the budget in preparation for next March's town meeting. The selectmen will be working with various department heads to put that together. I have experience doing that. My understanding is that the Department of Public Works director is leaving and will be hiring a replacement. I have experience hiring the guy who's doing it now. I think in 5 months' time, getting those things accomplished, there's any number of issues that come before the Board of Selectmen on a regular basis that have to be dealt with. And no, I don't want to say that. I think that I can be of service to the town for a 5-month term. But like I say, it takes a while to learn to be a selectman. And the laws and the policies and what have you. And those I already know, so I can jump in and do board assignments or whatever else needs to be done.
Thank you, Joe. Let's go this way.
As Joe said, it's budget season, so I think it's going to be the biggest contribution, like Stan said, you know, to have an impact on the actual budget, whether it could be cutting costs, looking at, you know, what are some of those costs and what are we planning for. Sometimes it seems like we do things a little backwards, where we put the money in and then we find out it might cost something a little bit more later on. So it's looking at those other expenses. You're always going to have labor. You're going to have, you know, the benefits. Those are fixed costs and electricity. But, you know, let's look at other options that we have and direct the department heads to look at those other options to see, you know, where they can try and save us some money. You know, technology always seems to go up and up and up. Does it really make us more efficient, or is it just because it's a cool gadget to have? So it's a lot of different things that you have to look at in the budget. So it's, you know, having that perspective.
Thank you. Jules?
I'm going to be boring and say pretty much the same thing. It's going to be budget season. I've lived through the couple budget seasons, and they're pretty intense. And as Joe was saying, again, hiring the highway department manager is very important position, especially with winters, and so that's going to consume some time too. And then it will be town meeting.
Exactly. Thank you. Jason?
Well, my plan, if this is 5 months, my plan is to not have a plan, because I see what the selectmen deal with week after week, and the best laid plans, you just have to run the business of the town. Whatever comes before you, whatever gets on the agenda, whatever non-public human resource issue is walking through the door, that's what you have to do. My background is in those types of things. I've co-owned businesses, I've run businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses, very familiar with the human resources aspect in both small business, personally owned, corporate, big box retail, small box retail. I've seen, and now state employment, I've seen many different ways to get through some of these things, and budgets is, yes, a part of that. I sat on the first, when we had the fire district budget committee, I sat on the first one of those and did that for a while. But the plan is to not have a plan. You just have to deal with what comes at you, use your background, your experiences, and collaborate with selectmen to get the best solution. And we're all stakeholders, we're all taxpayers, so that's really what we're doing. Is we can't bring anything that we want to do. It's what does the town need? And that's really what I think 5 months is. My only plan is to do what comes in front of us.
Thank you. Todd?
Well, it sounds like the budget is the big thing here, but You know, Tilton's fresh to me. It's new. I've got energy for it. I mean, there's an obvious one that we've already talked about. I think a business owners group would be a great thing. And I would also try and find the glaring issues that are in town and try and set up foundations in those 5 months in order to move forward with those. Hopefully it wouldn't just be 5 months. You know, hopefully we'd have things moving forward and I would be in for the 3 other years.
Thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, but in March, it would be for a 1-year term? So it'd just be for 1 year?
It will be a 3-year term and a 1-year term.
And a 1 year, so you'd have your choice,
Okay.
a 3-year or 1 year. Tim? Anybody else? Gail? No? Catherine or the rest of the board? Catherine's kind of the, I was thinking meat and bones, but that doesn't sound right. And you hold it right up to your mouth.
I'm not good. I'm not good with microphones.
We know that. We know.
Yeah.
Well, your piece of paper is bigger than John's was.
What changes would you make if you were a member of the Board of Selectmen?
Changes to what?
Well, that could be to the board, how it operates, or to the town?
Personally, for myself, I can't answer that. I'm new to the town. I can't answer that with you know, I have nothing to base that off.
I think transparency, making things more public. It always seems like to find information, you know, such as bidding on jobs and things like that. I've had people tell me that it seems like things are done in secret, and so making things more known, getting things more into the media or onto the web, or getting it where people can find it easier than just finding it on a bulletin board somewhere.
I'm on Facebook. That's a computer app, Catherine. And on Facebook, I'm sorry, I know you know what Facebook is. On Facebook, the Public Works guy over in Northfield gives a running update of what they're doing. I mean, they've got big construction projects and stuff, but we're going to be doing culverts on this road. Sand Dougherty Pond's only going to be another week. You know, you have issues, call me. It seems like a very good way of disseminating information because people talk, and there's a lot of people that's involved in that Northfield Tilton is talking. So.
Interesting.
Yeah, and if I could do anything in 5 months other than the regular duties of being a selectman, it would be to bring that to the table and get that discussion going, because I think that's a great thing.
Probably just, you know, Tilton is, I've heard so many positive things about Tilton doing this project. I'd just like to continue that sort of in that vein and promote just a more, have more positive types of groups that would foster a community. UNH Cooperative Extension, they were talking about vibrant communities, and groups like this are one of them where we can get together. There's a little bit of a hostility, I think, I sense, and but a lot of people are very positive too. So, you know, if we have more events, just foster a sense of community in different ways. And I'm not sure, can't name them right now, but.
So what is your available time that you would be able to devote to being a member of the Board of Selectmen? Also remembering that the Board of Selectmen are required to be ex officio members to other boards, so besides every Thursday night, there are other meetings that they attend and other obligations.
I'm quite aware of what is required as far as the time goes, and if I couldn't put that time in, I wouldn't be here tonight.
Would you assign a 5-month select person to those committees? I mean, it's already been stated about how long it's supposed to take to get up to speed to learn how to be a selectman, but is that something that the board plans on doing, is dropping, or you're going to be reassigning ex officios and liaisons finally in the last, because you probably haven't in quite some time?
Well, and that's a possibility. The reason you're here is because the Board of Selectmen member left, so that left openings.
And what were her?
I recently attended a meeting last week up in Bridgewater. I did because I was available. If I wasn't, somebody else would. So you never know. There's always, not just boards and committees, but there are always events that take place that selectmen attend,
right,
which also includes hearings down in Concord. A lot of different things. I mean, I would be here for a long time naming them all off.
Right. I think we all work a job for the most part, so our availabilities are across the board. I can't speak for everybody, but you know, we're not retired either. But I get out of the state at 3:30, and I'm right in Concord. That puts me central to going just about anywhere in the state. And you know, since the PD building committee is essentially inactive at this time, it's the only other than sewer. And you and I have been sitting on that. I've been doing that for about a decade. So I think my availability is wide open. Hence, me sitting at this table, and why I've declined the opportunity to run in years past.
I'm already on Tuesday nights are taken already for different obligations I have through different boards I'm on. I'm also on the, I don't know what the exact word is, but I'm on the Lakes Regional Planning Commission. I've only been at one meeting because that's all they've had since I've been designated for that. So, and the one I went to was out in Ossipee. So, I mean, and I'm fortunate that my job is relatively local, though my territory is in Tilton. I live in Tilton, and I have the flexibility and the freedom. If I had to come to something during the day, I can do that, or check on something. And Thursday nights, I currently don't have anything going on. So.
But obviously, both Eric and I are on the planning board, so we can only have one ex officio member, so that would free up the nights, Tuesday nights or something.
And I'm currently that ex officio.
Yes.
So, yeah, I have a full-time job as well, but me, the type of personality that I have, if, and it's the reason why I'm here, if I was chosen as this, I would fully commit to it. Also being new in town, I would probably be here quite a bit, as much as I possibly could, trying to learn the ins and outs of Tilton itself. So.
All right. Who oversees the Board of Selectmen?
I'm hoping it's the taxpayers.
Voters.
The voters.
Nice job. Describe the makeup of the governing body and the legislative body in the town of Tilton.
The legislative body is the voters.
The voters are the legislative body, and whoever shows up at town meeting. No, well, you could have different people show up on voting day versus town meeting day, part 2 of town meeting day. So those are that's the legislative body. You can say all the voters, but if they don't vote, then they're not participating.
The governing body?
The governing body?
Yeah,
we're sitting at the table.
It's the Board of Selectmen.
That's right.
All right, that's all I have
For you, Kath.
The rest of my questions I was told are not fair.
No, you can ask one more. It's probably a doozy. I'm just saving them from
My
having to
favorite
do a
color is
civics
blue.
test.
All right, then. What is the primary difference between a town administrator and the town manager?
The town administrator.
Ask my question.
Well, we'll just
If anybody else has something, then we can come back to you.
Know this one.
Why did you do that?
I know
Just
that.
let me answer that.
No, no, they are answering it, I'm just,
Well, yeah,
I'm gonna come back to her for more questions.
The town administrator is more of, is at the behest of the select board. I know that a town manager has more hiring, firing powers. Frequently, they go and they take coursework and get certified to be a certified town manager. They have more power and to do the bidding of, town business.
They have a little bit more freedom than having to go right to the town manager.
I'm just gonna look it up in the book.
I think kind of basically, the town administrator answers to the selectmen answer to a town manager.
To my knowledge, the selectmen don't answer to anybody but the voters. However, the town manager has authority to run the town on a day-to-day basis. They are in charge of any number of different things, and the city council or town council, the board of selectmen, give them a set of priorities and then let them do whatever they're going to do, and they have authority to do that by law.
Actually, I'll have to sort of have an answer to those practical questions, but the town administrator doesn't have any statutory authority, but the town manager is granted specific statutory authority. The selectmen have no say, and basically the town manager is the employer, hire, fire, and compensate. However, the town manager does answer to the board of selectmen as the town administrator does.
Thank you. Any more questions? You must have a question. I'm going to hand it back to Catherine if you don't.
She's doing a great job.
All right. Can I ask one question?
Sure, go ahead.
Just because I'm curious. Have any of you ever been in a position where you've had to manage or supervise employees, and if so, how many?
Many times. When I was at the state at Cannon Mountain, I had 7 full-time employees. In the wintertime, I had all the lift attendants, so I was up to about 60. Right now, I have
A lot.
10, I think, 11.
When I worked at a resort up north, in the high seasons, I had upwards of 60 housekeepers working for me when I ran a housekeeping department. And then when I worked at this Tilton Sports Center, it was me, and I had a few different staff. In the summer and the winter, I had some staff, but I was responsible for hiring and firing anyone. And then where I currently am, we have about 80 employees, about between 30 and 40 of them directly work in the same department I do. I'm one of 5 different people in my position. While we don't truly have hire fire, but we do manage those people on a day-to-day basis, assigning them different tasks to do. And they also come to us if they have an issue.
Okay.
Upwards of 50 at any particular time over the course of my career. Currently, I teach and try to teach people how to cook and how to be restaurant professionals. It's hard.
It's kind of like managing town employees.
Well, sort of. Oh yeah, and the town employees, but I didn't ever thought of myself as being their manager on any level. We have managers for the departments.
Yeah. Rules or Jason?
Go ahead.
Right now, I am a town employee, so I know that special sort of job position that you're in as a town employee comes with special considerations, working with the public. I have a part-time employee and I manage about 5 students right now, so I'm not managing cast of thousands. Jason?
My current hitch as a manager with the state surplus is about the easiest I've ever had. I have 2 full-time employees that are rock stars, and I have 2 inmate helpers that are very easy to manage and supervise. It's a small team. When I was at Home Depot as an assistant manager, I was on a 55-hour week. I was manager on duty for about 40 hours of that. The entire store was under my supervision and direction, and that could be anywhere from 30 to 40 or so in the busy time. So when I ran BJ's, I grand opened, and I was the on-site manager for all the contractors and subcontractors coming in and out of the building, setting the place up. So that was chaos central. And then having the real estate office, we had upwards of 10 agents when real estate was at its best when Judy and I had it. So varying degrees.
Thank you. Now, Catherine, I'm going to hand it back to you. And then we'll take a few minutes and we'll just let each candidate wrap up unless there's another question.
All right. Motion to do that.
So we need to allow like 5 minutes for everybody.
All right. What is the distinction? What is the difference between a town official and a town employee?
Officials are elected, employees are hired. Town officials, and at least in this circumstance, are not getting medical insurance or benefits or normal hourly wages or salaries. As a town official, as a sewer commissioner, I'm on a stipend, but I don't get health or retirement or anything like that as an elected official. But as managing the sewer commission for the employee that we do have, and she gets benefits and wages and retirement and those types of things. So.
I'm just going to add to that. That's all correct, but there is no difference in the way that they serve the taxpayer.
You could be appointed as an official as well. I think we're all going to be, one of us is going to be proof of that.
I'll agree and disagree with Todd just a little bit. When the select board is in session, they're in authority. When they walk out the door and they're on the street and they're not in session, they really are not select people. They're just citizens and taxpayers, whereas a town employee is still a town employee. I know with Johanna, if the sewer alarm goes off and her phone rings, she's going to go, whatever time it is, and go pull open that cover and see what pump is clogged and what's in it and what's going on. So you're an employee, you're on tap. Same thing with the PD or the Public Works or anybody. You're on the books. You clock in and do your thing. But elected official, if you're not in session, you walk out the door. You have no power or authority. Some think they do.
I just want to add, I think you always wear that hat, though.
Yeah.
I have to disagree a little bit with Jason because some employees are salary and around the clock, like I'm sure our chief is around the clock. And then other employees are part-time, and I think they should be allowed a little bit more leeway as far as what hat they wear when they're off the clock. They have to have some downtime. They're private citizens as well.
It's not an easy question to answer, but not all officials are elected. An official has an authority that is conferred upon them by law, such as the chief of police, who is appointed, but he is an official, and a town official is required to take an oath. The selectmen are officials, but they are elected officials, but there are also appointed officials. So I'm going to leave you alone.
This is a civics test, I
Why putting up a line there?
I like that.
Those are the fine print in the
No, those are
invitation.
very good questions, Kathleen. So, why don't we just take a minute, and if you want to just tell our audience.
I just have one question.
So I just want to know how this is going to work out if we chose Jason and there's 3 sewer commissioners on the Board of Selectmen. So there's 3 out of 3 sewer commissioners on the Board of Selectmen.
You already have a quorum sitting on there, so I'm sure in their professional backgrounds that they're not going to discuss sewer, or they can't. And I know Catherine's a straight shooter, and Peter's been doing it longer than both of us combined, and then some. So you've got a quorum sitting on your board. The third's not going to swing it one way or another, but as long as we don't go to try to disband it again like that happened last year.
I just have one question though. In my mind, if you have all 3 sewer commissioners sitting with the Board of Selectmen, then the sewer commission truly is the deciding vote, or it could be. I'm not saying it would be, I'm saying it could be. But also, anytime an issue were to come up that would need to go to the Board of Selectmen for discussion, say a sewer project or something like that, where funding is being requested, the ethical thing to do would be for the sewer commissioners to recuse themselves from any discussion that would be going on in the subject unless directly asked for information concerning it. But the final decision would be a selectman, but now you've had to recuse yourself because that's the ethical thing to do. And now there's only 2 left on the board, and they don't have enough people to vote on the issue. I'm not saying that the sewer commissioners would do that. I think all of you are excellent at your jobs, and I have absolutely no problem with your ethics or anything else, but I do know that public perception is a very nasty thing. It can come back to really haunt you. And I just see that having a majority of sewer commissioners, it's just like now, when you guys make decisions, the Board of Selectmen have absolutely nothing to do with those decisions. But now all of a sudden, you know, of course I realize it would be a separate meeting that you would be having. But every time you get together on a select board, if you're all 3 here, don't you also have to post that the whole sewer commission is at a meeting? Don't you also have to post that you're having a meeting?
I wouldn't think so. We would have our own agenda and a properly noticed meeting, and anything that would come up in the course of a selectmen's meeting, it would have to be tabled. You know, 5 months is 5 months. I think the only thing project-wise, if we needed any money, we have to get bonding authority from the voting body at town meeting, as there's no decision that the select, and you know, you've been a select board. So now, had the sewer commission not existed at all, those responsibilities would have been fallen to all 5 members of the select board. And what happened back in the day when you had a smaller board and somebody didn't make it? So growing to a 5-person board, and then having that sewer commission extracted, those responsibilities extracted from the Board of Selectmen, I think it gives degrees of separation and accountability, and having a separately noticed meeting. Bonding authority comes from the voting body. It's nothing the selectmen can do to fund or defund or anything with sewer. Yeah, the checks and balances are in place in the charter way before any of us came to the table.
Thank you for that. So we have a few minutes here to smile, Joseph.
Oh, I'm smiling on the inside, Joyce.
Would you like to start?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you sure you still?
No, absolutely. I'm proud to live in town of Tilton. I was raised in this area. I was in the last graduating class of Tilton Northfield High School. I ran for selectman a couple times and was fortunate enough to win those attempts. And I enjoyed my time on the board. I think the one thing that I'll point to that I like the best is recycling. But there were a number of things that I helped with that I really thought that I made a difference. There were some things that I felt like I was banging my head on the wall, but I think I helped. And I don't see any big initiatives coming up in 5 months necessarily. There's enough selectmen stuff to do end of the year that, there's not a lot of time for that. But I've got an opportunity to be of service again, and I'd like to do so.
Thank you.
Sure, I guess I'll continue the line. I'm happy to be a resident of the town of Tilton. I love this town. Even though I didn't grow up here, I love it. It's my home. It's where I'm raising my family. And, I think I have a lot to contribute. I think I've contributed well on the other boards that I serve. But I'm also ready for the next challenge. So I'm ready to serve the citizens of the town of Tilton.
Thank you. Juliet.
There's a lot of great people here, and a lot of, I'm proud to sit up here with everybody. Thank you, everyone, for considering us, and just saying, yep, in the next 5 months is going to be a busy time. We've got the 150th coming up. I think it's a good place to start rallying around and kind of refocusing our purview here at the town.
Thank you. Jason?
I've been here a while and I'm not going anywhere, so you're going to see more of me either on this side of the table or that side, and if it doesn't happen, I'll be running in March, so you can't get rid of me too easy. It's time. It's time to get involved.
Thank you. Todd?
As I said, I really like living here, even though it's been short. I also, again, have a lot of energy towards the community. When I commit to something like this, I like to own it. My phone would never be off, even though some people, I would always wear that hat. Like I said, this great business is already in town. With a little bit of tweaking, Main Street can be great again. I mean, it's going to take a lot of work, but you already have the foundation. You have, you've already got assets here. So I really enjoy being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to turn this back over to our chairman. And I just want to say that I love Tilton, and there's just so much negativity and everything in the world, and it's just so refreshing to be right at the local level. We're right where we're supposed to be, and that's where we can make great changes, and we're all going to work together. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming down. This is a really difficult time. I wish we could have everybody on here, but the way it's going to result is one person is going to get voted in, and the other 4 people are going to be voted against. And I don't want anybody to take any offense that is showing of appreciation or disappreciation or anything of what they do. It's a very hard decision. And when you go into the public or going to vote, you sit in a booth and you pick people. Sometimes you don't pick your friends. You pick who you feel can do the job. That's your secret, who you pick. You can tell your friends, oh, I picked you, I voted for you, or whatever. We as selectmen have to go and pick people, choose from one of you that we feel can fill in that 5 months and get the important business of the town done seamlessly. So I just want everybody to know that our votes are sincere to the people we didn't vote to as well.
And we have 2 zoning board and 1 planning available, so they can always go for
So, yeah, if you look up in the window here, you can see Uncle Sam says, I want you for, if you look closely, it says ZBA. In the town right now, we have quite a few different positions and things that have to get done, and the enthusiasm here is just, this is great. One of the things that I've been promoting a lot is we got a big year coming up. You know what I'm going to say, right? We have the 150th anniversary coming up for the town of Tilton, and we need to make plans for that. And we're probably about 2 years behind on doing it. And we don't have a committee set up, a celebrations committee. So anybody listening, want to help out? We got to do it. And we got to get going. And we got some great ideas, and we can do. But anyway, so unfortunately, we got to get on with the rest of the meeting here. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to take a brief recess. Leah, red is on, time being 8:15.
Okay, so just so everybody knows how the process works, what we're going to do now is we are going to go into a non-public solely, please listen, Okay, yeah. We're going to non-public solely because we're going to just discuss people that, and boards and who we think. But we are going to come out of it and we will all vote publicly, and everybody will see who each one of us votes and do that. So, and if it's anything that we can share, that we will do it publicly. Okay, so I'm going to make I'm going to make a motion that we go into non-public session as per RSA 91-8:3, paragraph 2, as C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of the body or the agency itself. Unless such person requests an open meeting, this exemption shall extend to any application for assistance, tax abatement, waiver, or fee, fine, or levy
Please.
if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant.
Second.
Yes, do. It's John Scanlon.
I know. Thanks, John.
Okay, we have Constantino, Fogg,
Yes.
Dawson,
Yes.
Scanlon, yes.
We are red. Red is on. Time being 8:35.
Welcome back. It's 8:35. The selectmen were just in a brief non-public RSA.
I think you passed that to all of us, Joyce, didn't you?
C. So, okay, so you want to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to, help me out here, matters which discuss public would likely affect the adversity of reputation of any person other than a member of the body. Okay, so we have motion to second. Yes.
Yes.
I guess. Scanlon, yes.
Yes.
Dawson. Okay, welcome back. So we had the brief non-public there, and just explain it's another thing matters which we discussed would likely affect you adversely the reputation of any person. Of course, we're going to talk about the candidates and what we thought were good or bad attributes or special things we could offer to the board, so we had to discuss that. Yeah. So everything we discussed was positive as well. Okay, so, and we have to make a motion.
This time, we would like to thank all of the candidates. And at this time, I would like to make a motion to appoint Joe Jessamine as our interim selectman for the next 5 months.
Second for discussion.
Okay, we'll get some discussion. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
No.
So let's say there's a 3-1 vote. So we're going to have Joe as the next, for the next 5 months.
I'm just not going to accept that. It's a poor taste in the next day. Just want that on the record.
Okay.
We'll make sure it's in the minutes.
I disagree if you look at his service over time.
And it's tough, and you know, Troy was toughest thing I gotta do here.
There was no telling how long we would have stayed in non-public. We actually could have been there for an hour. I applaud anybody who stayed and understand those who left.
I'm hoping that the election comes out.
It was a very, very, very difficult decision for all of us.
The ability for change. There's a reputation in this town that this is a low voice club.
So do the things you always done, that's what
Thank you for submitting your name. We appreciate it.
You got a lot of help with other stuff from committees too.
Consider Planning.
Really good experience.
Planning or ZBA?
Planning. We didn't have a meeting Tuesday night.
No, you didn't?
No, we only had 3 people. No quorum. Yeah, it's been like that. Just sneak by.
Okay, so. So I've got this,
Not that very distant, so.
We often take this. That's okay.
Yeah, do you want to talk about that in non-public?
Are you done with all your other business?
We are done with all of our other business.
Second.
No, John is not done.
Could you explain the, this is, that, the police department, expect technology manager.
Just where we cover so many hours now, the state looks at us as our, the state looks at us as our own dispatch center, and so they have to identify for 911 reasons where they route the calls, and it's where the majority of calls are routed to for 911. So the majority now are Tilton. So it actually could work out for grants, and it also, what we're trying to do is get a screen and dispatch for 911, and you have to be identified as a 911 center to get that screen. So what happens is when they route a 911 call from Concord or Laconia to Tilton, it'll come up on a screen who the caller is, where they are, that sort of stuff. So if they're yelling for help but they don't get the address out there, we can see it the way it is right now. They don't see anything, they just get over the phone from 911. So I've actually been in touch with the director of 911 about this, so hopefully this will help, because the dispatchers really want to get that screen.
So, and all we need to do is sign that to say that this is.
And then we send it to the state, yeah. Thank you. It just shows that the majority of our hours are covered by Tilton PD now for 911 calls.
Yeah, so I'll read it. The town of Tilton requested the Division of Emergency Services and Communications change the display name for the primary police dispatch center from Belknap Sheriff's Department to Tilton Police Department for all calls to reflect the agency that handles these calls during business hours. This is a display name change only. Please continue to transfer all police 911 calls directly to the same phone number of as our police 4442.
Thank you, John.
Budget works?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We are red is on, time being 9:15 from our reconvening.
May I have a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public meeting as they pertain personnel.
Second,
Seconded?
by Pat. Constantino, yes.
Fogg, yes.
Dawson?
You can't do it yet.
So, we're out of non-public, just a little FYI, Joe, Jessamine just walked in the room as we were coming out of non-public, we told him to sit down, and, as you know, not too long ago, we did appoint Joe as a selectman, and we are going to swear him in at this moment.
I
Joe Jessamine,
do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
and affirm that I will faithfully
and affirm that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties incumbent on me
perform all of the duties incumbent upon me
as
a selectman of the town of Tilton,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations
agreeable to the rules and regulations
of this Constitution
of this Constitution
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God.
and the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God. Really great to be back.
You know, one of the things, and you just before, and I did announce it in front of some of the other candidates who were a little bit disappointed, but it was a very tough decision, and all the other candidates were actually very excellent, and
I agree wholeheartedly, and when I said I would vote for any of them, I hope they run again in March, because I could see me voting.
and we need help to do that. And I just, as I said before, I hope there's no hard feelings. It's a tough decision. We have a lot of work to do. And you're only going to be here for 5 months, and then you
That
can be
was the
pitched right
kicker.
out.
If it hadn't been for the 5-month part, it's like there's several of these candidates that could have sat and received a
Great job, yeah. And I hope that they step forward. That's
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
My favorite.
Welcome back, Joe.
Aye.
Aye.
You didn't say it.
Vote with your feet.